Far away from the center of known space, past the last mapped star lanes, a small alien ship floated silently. It was not large or powerful, just a scout vessel owned by a private trading company. Its name was the Vocari 9, and it had traveled far from its home system to explore an unclaimed world called Earth. The crew was made up of 3 Vocari, tall reptilian beings with golden eyes and rough green skin. They were traders, not warriors. Their mission was simple: scan the planet, check for valuable resources, maybe make contact with any intelligent life if it existed. They had heard stories about Earth before they left home. Some said it was primitive, still using old machines, and burning fuel for power. Others warned that it was unpredictable, even dangerous, but no one really knew much for sure. The galactic community had mostly ignored Earth. It was too far, too strange, and too weird. As the Vocari 9 came out of hyperspace near the edge of the solar system, the pilot Cathar adjusted their orbit. He was young, barely out of training, and eager to prove himself. Beside him sat his captain, Vakal, a calm and experienced trader with many years under his belt. In the back was Rylak, the scanner operator, who was already running scans on the blue-green planet below. "Atmosphere looks breathable," Rylak said, looking at the data. "Plenty of water, plant life, and signs of industry." "No signs of advanced weapons?" Vakal asked. Rylak shook his head. "Nothing major. No orbital defense systems either. Just satellites and some ships flying around in low orbit." "So, we're safe to send down a probe?" Cathar asked eagerly. Vakal looked at the screen again. Something felt off. There was no sign of military presence, no warnings from other traders yet. He hesitated. "We'll send the first probe," he said finally. "But keep it small. Let's see what happens." A few minutes later, a small drone was launched toward the planet's surface. It was equipped with cameras, sensors, and a short-range transmitter. The crew watched as it descended through the clouds. Then, without warning, the signal cut out. "Lost contact," Rylak said. "That's odd. Could be interference." Vakal frowned. "Send another one." This time, the probe got farther, almost halfway down before the feed went black. "Same thing," Rylak muttered. "No explosion, no impact. Just gone." Vakal leaned back in his chair. "Try scanning the area where the signals were lost." Rylak ran a passive scan. Nothing showed up. No energy spikes, no jamming fields. It was like the probe simply disappeared. Cathar looked nervous. "Maybe someone shot them down?" Vakal shook his head. "No radar signatures, no heat trails. No indication of any kind of attack." "Then what happened?" Rylak asked. Vakal didn't answer right away. He stared at the planet below. It looked peaceful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green forests, a normal, habitable world. And yet, "Let's try one more," he said. "This time, track its descent manually." The third probe was launched. This time, they followed its path closely. It passed through the upper atmosphere, then into the clouds. Suddenly, the image on the screen flickered. Something moved. Not fast, not violent, but something grabbed the probe. The camera feed twisted, turned sideways, then showed a blurry image of trees, grass, and hands. Human hands. Then the screen went black. What the hell was that? Cathar whispered. Rylak rewound the footage. The hands were clearly not Vocari. They were smaller, pale-skinned, and oddly shaped. "Humans," Rylak said quietly. "They caught it." Vakal stood up slowly. "They're not supposed to have tech that can detect our probes." "Unless they're hiding something," Cathar added. Vakal thought for a moment. "We need answers. I'm sending you down, Cathar." Cathar's eyes widened. "Me? You're the best scout we have. Take the shuttle and land somewhere remote. Observe from a distance. Don't make contact unless it's safe." Cathar nodded, though he looked uneasy. "Be careful," Vakal warned. "Something about this place doesn't feel right." Landing on Earth an hour later, The small shuttle dropped out of orbit and entered the planet's atmosphere. Cathar sat alone in the cockpit, watching the controls carefully. The ride was bumpy, but the shuttle held steady. Below him, the landscape stretched wide and green. Mountains, forests, rivers, and lakes. No cities nearby. Perfect. He picked a clearing in a forested area and landed gently. The engines hissed as they cooled. Silence fell over the woods. Cathar stepped out, wearing a light suit that blended into the environment. He carried only a scanner and a small communicator. His first step onto the soil was soft, mossy, damp. He looked around. Birds chirped. Insects buzzed. Everything seemed normal. He activated his scanner. Life readings were everywhere. Mostly animals, but also some human-like shapes nearby. He moved forward slowly, staying hidden behind trees. After a few minutes, he saw movement ahead. 2 humans walked along a dirt trail. They wore loose clothing, carried backpacks, and talked casually. Cathar stayed still, watching them pass. They didn't seem dangerous. They looked curious, laughing, and pointing at things in the forest. After they disappeared into the trees, Cathar continued deeper into the woods. He wanted to find a settlement, maybe a town or village. As he walked, he noticed something strange. There were no signs of high technology. No floating vehicles, no energy weapons, no visible defenses. But the air was filled with invisible signals, radio waves, phone calls, internet traffic. It was confusing. How could a species be so connected without being advanced? He reached the edge of a small town. Houses lined narrow streets. Cars drove. Slowly, people walked, talked, and smiled. He scanned again. The population was large, spread out across the planet. Millions upon millions. And yet, no signs of organized military response to the probes. He crouched behind a bush, watching a group of children playing in a park. They chased each other, laughed, threw balls into the air. He tilted his head. Strange. He decided to get closer. Unexpected contact as he moved toward the edge of the town. Cathar spotted a man walking alone. He wore a heavy coat and carried a bag. He stopped at a bench and sat down, pulling out a sandwich. Cathar crept closer, trying to stay unseen. The man took a bite of his sandwich, then looked up, directly at him. Cathar froze. The man blinked, then smiled. "Hey," he said, waving. "You okay? You look lost." Cathar didn't move. The man shrugged. "If you need help, I can call someone." He pulled out a small device. Cathar recognized it as a communication tool. Probably linked to local authorities. Cathar panicked. He turned and ran. Behind him, the man shouted, "Wait!" But Cathar kept moving, disappearing into the trees. The disappearance back on the Vokari 9, Vakal waited for a signal. Hours passed. No word from Cathar. Vakal tried contacting him. No response. "Something's wrong," Relak said. Vakal stood up. "We need to go down." Relak shook his head. "Without backup? That's not protocol." Vakal looked at the planet below. "Neither is losing a scout." He prepared the second, shuttle alone. As he descended, he kept his eyes on the spot where Cathar had landed. Nothing. He landed nearby and stepped out. Silence. He followed the same trail Cathar had taken. Eventually, he found the spot where the 2 humans had been walking. He scanned the ground. Footprints. He followed them until he reached the edge of the town. There he found something strange. A piece of cloth. Woven fabric. Dyed red. It wasn't Vokari made. It was human. Next to it was a broken twig, snapped recently. Vakal crouched down, thinking. Someone had been here. Someone had seen Cathar. And now Cathar was gone. Vakal returned to the shuttle quickly. He sent a message to the Vokari 9 no abort mission. "Return to base," Relak replied. What happened? Vakal didn't answer. He just lifted off, leaving the planet behind. The warning weeks later, Vakal sat in a dark room aboard a trade station orbiting a neutral moon. He was speaking to a representative of another alien species, the Zalari, a race known for diplomacy and observation. Earth? The Zilari asked, surprised. You went to Earth? Vakal nodded. We sent a team. We never made contact. One of my scouts vanished. The Zilari folded his hands. Many have tried to understand humans. All have failed. Vakal looked at him. Why? They're primitive. No weapons, no shields, no real defenses. The Zilari smiled faintly. Because they are not dangerous. In the way you think. Vakal frowned. Then how? The Zilari leaned forward. They do not follow rules. They do not act predictably. They do not fear what they do not understand. And worst of all, they do not stop asking questions. Vakal was silent. You should warn your people, the Zilari said. Stay away from Earth. They may not be strong, but they are dangerous. Vakal stood up slowly. How? The Zilari looked at him. Because they are not afraid, and because they always surprise you. Vakal left the meeting feeling unsettled. Back on his ship, he wrote a final report. Planet, Earth. Status, unknown. Recommendation, avoid contact. Notes, highly unpredictable. Potential threat level, extreme. He sent it to the main trade. Council days later, a reply came. Acknowledged. Earth will remain uncharted. And so the file was closed. But the warning remained. Earth, now known as the most dangerous planet out there. In a small town in Texas, life was quiet. The sun rose early, birds sang, and people went about their day like normal. One of those people was Jason Bennett, a high school history teacher who liked old books, coffee, and camping trips. One weekend, he packed his car and drove to a forest not far from home. He wanted to get away from the noise of the city, breathe fresh air, and spend some time alone. He set up his tent near a river, lit a fire, and sat down with a sandwich and his phone. After eating, he looked up at the sky. It was clear and full of stars. He pulled out his phone and started recording a short video, just for fun. Hey everyone, he said into the camera. This is me, enjoying nature and trying to avoid thinking about grading papers. He turned the camera toward the sky. Look at this view, he said. No light pollution, no traffic noise, just peace and quiet. As he filmed, something caught his eye. A faint light moved across the sky. Slow, silent, and strange. He zoomed in with his phone, trying to see better. The light blinked once, then vanished. He lowered the phone, confused. Weird, he muttered. He finished the video, saved it, and went to sleep. The video goes viral the next morning. Jason packed up and drove back home. When he got there, he uploaded the video to his social media page. Within hours, it had hundreds of views. Within a day, it had thousands. People were talking about the strange light. Some thought it was a satellite. Others believed it was a UFO. Many joked about aliens. But something else caught people's attention. In the background of the video, near the edge of the trees, was a man. Not someone Jason knew, not someone he remembered seeing. He wore dark clothes, stood still, and watched him from a distance. Jason rewatched the video again and again. The figure didn't move much, just stood there watching. After a few days, the video was shared on bigger websites. Forums, blogs, even news channels talked about it. Who is the man in the woods? One headline read, Strange figure seen, behind popular camper, another said. Soon reporters tried contacting Jason. They asked questions. They wanted interviews. But before any of that could happen, things changed. His video was taken down. His account was suspended. His phone stopped working properly. Apps wouldn't open. Messages disappeared. He tried calling his friends. None of them answered. Then came the knock at the door. The visitor. Jason opened the door slowly. A woman stood outside. She looked calm, but serious. She wore a plain coat and carried a black bag. Mr. Bennett, she asked. Yes? She smiled slightly. Can we talk? I think you have some questions. Jason hesitated. I don't know who you are. My name is Lisa Garcia, she said, and you're not in trouble. I'm here to explain what happened. He studied her face. She didn't look like a reporter or a cop. Come in, he said finally. They sat in his living room. Lisa placed her bag on the table and took out a tablet. First, she said, you should know your video wasn't taken down by accident. Someone did it on purpose, Jason asked. Yes, she said, because of what was in the background. The man in the woods, Jason said. Lisa nodded. He works for us. Well, used to. Used to? Jason frowned. Lisa tapped her tablet. An image appeared, a photo of the man in the woods. His name is David Porter, she said. He's a field agent. He monitors unusual activity. Like what? Jason asked. Lisa looked at him. Like alien sightings. Jason laughed. Aliens, come on. Lisa didn't laugh. She just watched him. You're serious, he said. Very, she replied. Earth has been under observation for years, not by governments but by private groups like mine. We watch for signs of extraterrestrial contact. Jason shook his head. This sounds like a movie. I know, Lisa said, but it's real. And now, you've become part of it. Jason leaned back in his chair. So what happens now? Now, she said, you come with me. Drew us inside the truth. An hour later, Jason was sitting in the back of a black van. Lisa drove. Beside her sat a man named Tom, who barely spoke. They drove for hours, leaving the town behind. Eventually, they reached a large building near Denver International Airport. It looked like a warehouse. They parked and walked inside. The place was filled with computers, maps, screens, and people wearing earpieces. Jason looked around. What is this place? Headquarters, Lisa said. Welcome to the Outer World Monitoring Unit. Outer World? Jason asked. We track anything that comes from space, she explained, especially if it lands here. They walked through a hallway and entered a large room. A big screen showed images from satellites, drones, and old videos. Some footage showed strange lights in the sky. Others showed blurry shapes moving on the ground. This is everything we've gathered, Lisa said. Over 50 years of unexplained events. Jason stared at the screen. You mean aliens have been here? Yes, she said. More than once. And not all of them friendly. Tom finally spoke. Some came to trade, some came to study us. A few tried to invade. And? Jason asked. None of them stayed, Tom said. Something always scared them off. Like what? Jason asked. Lucia smiled. Us. Jason raised an eyebrow. You're saying humans scare aliens? Not exactly, she said. We confuse them. We act unpredictably. We don't follow rules. We ask too many questions. Jason rubbed his chin. So we're dangerous because we're weird? In a way, she said. To them, we're not advanced, but we're wild cards, and that makes us hard to control. Selkruart, the file slater. Lisa showed Jason a stack of folders. These are reports, she said. Each one is about a failed alien mission on Earth. He opened the first one. Case file. Xilari Diplomatic Team, Russia, 1987. Summary. Peaceful aliens landed near a village. Locals mistook them for foreign spies. Within hours, they vanished. Last seen being chased by angry farmers with pitchforks. Jason laughed. Pitchforks? They weren't armed, Lisa said. Just angry. He flipped to another file. Case. File. Thalcor Survey Drone, Ohio, 2003. Summary. Drone landed unnoticed in a schoolyard. Students found it, took it apart for science class. Parts were sold online, remains never recovered. They sold pieces of an alien drone on eBay? Jason asked. Yup, Lisa said. Still haven't tracked down all the parts. Another file. Case file. Zelvani Telepathic Probe, Minnesota, 2019. Summary. Probe attempted to make mental contact with humans. Signal was intercepted by local radio tower. Broadcast live on morning show. Hosts joked about weird dreams. Jason shook his head. So instead of starting a war, they ended up on the radio? Pretty much, Lisa said. Jason kept reading. More stories. More strange encounters. Aliens landing in forests, cities, deserts. Some trying to communicate, others trying to hide. All failing. Why? He asked. Why can't they understand us? Because we don't act like other species, Lisa said. We don't react the same way. We're chaotic, unpredictable, sometimes kind, sometimes violent, sometimes both. Jason looked at her. So, we're not dangerous because we're strong. No, she said. We're dangerous because we surprise them every time. The warning after hours of reading, Jason sat back in his chair. So what now? He asked. Licia looked at him. Now you decide. Do you want to stay involved? Why would I? He asked. Because you saw something, she said. You noticed the man in the woods. You recorded it. You questioned it. Jason sighed. I was just filming the stars. And you changed everything, she said. Tom stepped forward. Word is spreading. Other aliens are talking about Earth again. Some want to try again. Some want to lock us out. Lock us out? Jason asked. Put a barrier around our planet, Lisa said. Stop us from going into space, keep us contained. Why? Jason asked. Because they're afraid, Tom said. Afraid of what we might do. Afraid of how unpredictable we are. Jason looked at the screen again. Videos of strange lights, reports of missing probes, photos of confused aliens. He thought about his students, his friends, the people he passed on the street. So what do we do? He asked. Licia smiled. We keep watching. We keep learning. And maybe one day we'll be ready to meet them on our own terms. Jason looked at her. And until then? Until then, she said. We remain the most dangerous planet out there. After spending a full day reading reports and watching old footage, Jason felt like his head was spinning. He had seen videos of strange lights in the sky, heard audio clips of alien voices, and read about events that sounded more like science, fiction than real life. But Lisa Garcia kept telling him this was all true. You want to see more? She asked. Jason nodded slowly. I guess I do. She smiled and led him down another hallway. They passed rows of filing cabinets and shelves stacked with thick binders. Some were labeled with names like Operation Silent Watch or Case File, Nova Event. Others had dates going back decades. They stopped at a large metal door marked with a simple sign, Restricted Access, Level 4, Clearance Only. Licia pulled out a small card and swiped it. The light on the scanner turned green. The door unlocked with a loud click. Inside was a dark room filled with monitors, computers, and desks covered in papers. People in plain clothes sat at workstations, typing, talking quietly, and watching. Screens. This is where we keep the deeper files, Lisa said. The ones even governments don't know about. Why not? Jason asked. Because if they did, she replied, they'd probably make a mess of things. She walked over to a desk and picked up a folder labeled simply, Earth Contact Attempts, Classified. She handed it to him. Read through this, she said. It'll show you how many times aliens have tried to interact with us and how badly it went. Jason opened the folder. The first landing. The first case was from the 1950s. Case file, Vocari Scout Team, New Mexico, 1957. Summary. A small alien vessel landed near a desert town after detecting unusual energy readings. 2 scouts exited the ship and began scanning the area. Within minutes, they were spotted by local farmers. One mistook them for escaped circus performers. The other called the sheriff. A group of townspeople gathered, armed with shotguns and flashlights. The aliens attempted to communicate using hand signals. Instead of being understood, they were surrounded and taken into custody. Local authorities believed they were foreign spies dressed in costume. They were interrogated for 3 days before being released. No official record of the event exists today. Jason looked up. Wait, so they got arrested? Licia nodded. Yup. And the funny thing is, they didn't even try to escape. Why? Not? Jason asked. They were too confused, she said. They thought humans were primitive. But here they were, dealing with questions, cameras, and paperwork. Jason shook his head. So they just gave up? Basically, she said. And when they finally left, they told their people never to come back. He flipped to the next report. The movie set mistake case file. Zilari Diplomatic Pod, New York City, 2004. Summary. A small alien pod landed unnoticed in Central Park during the early hours of the morning. Its purpose was peaceful, intended to gather cultural data on human behavior. Within an hour, it was discovered by a film crew setting up for a sci-fi movie shoot. Believing it to be a prop, they moved it to a nearby soundstage and added lighting effects. The pod's internal systems detected changes in temperature and light levels, triggering automatic defense protocols. The pod locked itself shut and began broadcasting low-frequency pulses meant to scare off threats. The director thought it was a malfunction and called in tech support. By the time the pod realized it was not under attack, it had been altered, beyond recognition. Unable to return to orbit, it sent a distress signal that was intercepted by amateur radio operators in Texas. No formal contact was made. The pod remains in storage as a movie prop. Jason laughed. They thought an alien spaceship was a movie prop. Yep, Lisa said. And they even added fake damage to make it look cooler. Jason stared at the picture attached to the file. It showed the pod, clearly not human-made, surrounded by lights, cables, and camera rigs. So what happened to the aliens inside? They waited for 3 days, Lisa said, then gave up and activated a self-destruct protocol. Blew themselves up trying to get rid of a film crew. Jason blinked. They destroyed themselves. Because of a movie. Basically, Lisa said. He closed the file for a moment. This is insane, he muttered. Welcome to Earth's reputation, she said. The Lost Diplomats next. He opened a file marked with a red stamp. Confidential. Case file. Zilari Diplomatic Mission, Moscow, 1982. Summary. A team of Zilari diplomats arrived on Earth to establish peaceful relations with the Soviet government. They used cloaking technology and approached the capital city under cover of darkness. Their plan was to make contact with high-ranking officials and offer technological assistance in exchange for limited access to human culture. Instead, they were mistaken for enemy agents and captured by the KGB. For 3 weeks, they were held in secret locations, questioned, and subjected to psychological tests. Unable to communicate without revealing their identity, they remained silent. Eventually, they were transferred to a research facility. There, they were studied like lab animals. Their advanced biology and language patterns were recorded extensively. Before they could be returned to their ship, a fire broke out in the facility. All records were destroyed. The aliens were presumed dead. In reality, they escaped during the chaos and fled to the countryside, hiding among rural communities for several months before returning to space. When asked why they never tried again, one of the survivors said, "Humans are not ready for diplomacy. They are too suspicious, too emotional, and too unpredictable." Jason looked at Lisa. So they basically got kidnapped by the Russians? More or less, she said. And they weren't the only ones. He flipped through more pages. Case. File Thalcor Union Drone. Ohio 2010. Summary. Drone entered atmosphere undetected and landed in a farmer's field. Local children found it and took it apart for a school science fair. Parts were later sold online or reused for robotics projects. Case file. Draxian Scout, California, 2016. Summary. Alien observer disguised as human, lived among locals. For 6 months. Gained popularity as a motivational speaker. disappeared after being invited to appear on national television. Case file, Silent One's Probe, Australia, 1999. Summary: probe landed in remote outback. Local Aboriginal tribe interpreted it as a spiritual object, built shrine around it. Still there today. Jason rubbed his eyes. This is a lot to take in. Yeah, Lisa said, but you're starting to understand why nobody wants to deal with us. Because we're weird, he said. Not just weird, she said. We're chaotic. We don't act like other species. We don't follow rules. We don't react the same way. He thought about it. So, we're dangerous. To them, she said, because they can't predict what we'll do, and that makes us hard to control. The hidden truth. After finishing the last file, Jason stood up. So what does all this mean? He asked. Lisa leaned back in her chair. It means we've been visited more than anyone knows, and every time, something goes wrong. Not because we're hostile, but because we're different. Different how? He asked. We ask too many questions, she said. We explore, we experiment. We don't always listen to authority. And sometimes we just don't care. Jason nodded slowly. Like when someone finds something cool and decides to open it, just to see what happens. Exactly, Lisa said. And that scares them. He looked around the room. People were still working, reviewing reports, tracking signals. So what's next? He asked. Next, she said, we keep watching. And maybe one day we'll be ready to make real contact. He looked at her. What if we already are? She smiled. Then Earth isn't just dangerous, it's terrifying. Jason sat at a small table in the underground facility. Lisa had left for a moment to talk with someone else. He stared at the reports spread out in front of him. Each file told a story, some funny, some strange, some almost unbelievable. Aliens had tried to land on Earth many times. Some came to trade. Some came to study. A few even tried to invade. But none of them stayed. He flipped through more pages, reading about failed missions, lost probes, and confused diplomats. And then it hit him. We're not dangerous because we fight, he said out loud. A voice behind him answered. No, Lisa said. You're right. You're dangerous because you don't act like everyone else. She sat down across from him. What do you mean? Jason asked. Lisa leaned forward. Every other species in space follows rules. They have order, structure, logic. Humans? She continued. Not so much. Jason looked at her. So we scare them off because we're weird? In a way, she said. They expect one thing. They get another. She picked up one of the files. Take this, Case, she said. A Marine in Afghanistan saw something flying over the mountains. Thought it was a drone. Shot it down. Was it? Jason asked. Yes, she said. A cloaked alien scout ship, no weapons, just watching. And he took it out with a single bullet. Jason blinked. That's insane. It gets better, she said, or worse, depending on how you look at it. She handed him another file. Case file, California Hackers, 2015. Summary. A group of college students broke into what they believed was a government server. Instead, they accessed an alien database containing classified information about human behavior. Thinking it was a prank, they uploaded cat memes and animated GIFs before sharing the link online. The aliens were so confused by the sudden flood of nonsense data that they shut down the entire system and left the solar system. Jason read the report slowly. They uploaded cat videos and scared off an alien civilization? Yup, Lisa said. They didn't know what hit them. Jason shook his head. So we're not scary because we're strong. Nope, she said. We're scary because we're unpredictable. The madness of normal life. Later that day, Lisa took Jason outside for a walk. The sky was gray, but the air was cool and fresh. They walked past rows of parked cars and quiet buildings. I want you to think about something, Lisa said. Okay, Jason replied. Imagine you're an alien, she said. You come to Earth. You've studied humans for years. You know our language, our history, our technology. You land somewhere remote. You try to make contact. What happens next? Jason thought for a moment. Depends who you meet, he said. Exactly, she said. If you land near a military base, you might get shot. If you land in a city, people might film you and upload it to YouTube. If you land in a small town, someone might offer you dinner. Jason smiled. You never know what you're going to get. Right, she said. And that's terrifying to them. Because they can't plan for it, Jason said. Because they can't control it, she added. She stopped walking and turned to face him. Think about this. Every other intelligent species in space has a set way of doing things. They follow rules. They have laws. They know how others will react. Humans, she said. We break those rules all the time. Jason nodded. We ask questions. We challenge authority. We do stupid stuff just to see what happens. And sometimes, she said, we do kind things when nobody expects it. Jason looked at her. Like what? She pointed to another file. Case file, Refugee Aid Worker, Syria, 2018. Summary. During heavy fighting, a local aid worker risked her life to carry wounded civilians to safety. She did not stop, even when enemy forces surrounded her. A nearby alien observer hidden among ruins recorded the event. He later stated, "This woman showed more bravery than any soldier I have ever seen." That's why we're dangerous, she said. Not because we attack, but because we surprise them. Jason looked at the ground. So we're not just wild cards, he said. We're chaos, in the best and worst ways, she said. The truth in numbers back inside, they returned to the main room where computers buzzed softly and lights flickered on monitors. Tom, the quiet man from earlier, was waiting for them. Did you show him everything? He asked. Almost, Lisa said. Tom walked over to a large screen and tapped a few keys. A new image appeared, a chart filled with red dots. What's that? Jason asked. Every reported alien visit to Earth since 1947, Tom said. Jason stepped closer. The map showed the world covered in red markers. How many are there? He asked. Over 2,000 confirmed landings, Tom said. Maybe more. Jason stared at the screen. 2,000, he whispered. And yet, Tom said, none of them made lasting contact. Jason frowned. Why not? Tom pointed to a section of the map labeled Failed Contact Attempts. Look here, he said. These are cases where aliens tried to communicate. Some sent messages. Some landed openly. Some even tried to use telepathy. What happened? Most ended in confusion, Tom said. Some led to panic. A few resulted in violence. He clicked again. A new list appeared. Contact attempt failures. Misinterpreted as religious signs. Mistaken for weather balloons. Taken apart by curious children. Used as movie props. Ignored by local population. Attacked by animals. Eaten by mistake. Jason raised an eyebrow. Eaten? Tom nodded. A probe landed in a rural village in Africa. Locals found it, thought it was food, cooked it, and ate it. Really? Really, Tom said. No survivors. Well, for the probe anyway. Jason laughed. This is ridiculous, but true, Lisa said. She turned back to the screen. Now look at this, she said, pointing to a different chart. It showed graphs comparing Earth to other known planets. This is how we compare to other species, she said. Our technology level is low, our military strength is moderate, our diplomatic skills are questionable. Jason smirked. But look at this line, she said, pointing to a red curve that spiked high. What is that? Chaos index, she said. How unpredictable a species is in response to unknown stimuli. Jason looked at the graph. Earth's line went straight up. We're off the charts, he said. Way off, she said. More than any other known species. So, we're not dangerous because we're strong, he said again. No, she said. We're dangerous because we never do what they expect. The final realization after hours of reading, talking, and thinking, Jason finally sat down. His mind was full. He had seen reports, watched videos, heard stories, and now he understood. Earth wasn't feared because of its weapons or armies. It was feared because of its people. Because humans didn't follow rules. Because they asked too many questions. Because they didn't always listen. Because they could be kind, violent, curious, or cruel, all within the same day because they didn't know what they would do next and neither did anyone else. He looked at Lisa. "So what does this mean for us?" he asked. She sat beside him. "It means we need to understand ourselves," she said, "before someone else tries to understand us." He nodded slowly. "And maybe," she added, "one day we'll be ready to go out there." Jason looked up at the ceiling. "And when we do," he said, "they better bring snacks." Lucia smiled, and a sense of humor, because Earth may be dangerous, but deep down, some part of them knows. We might just be the only species crazy enough to save them all. Far away from Earth, past the edge of mapped space, a great meeting was happening. In a dark room on a floating station above a gas giant, leaders from many alien species gathered. They came from different worlds, different cultures, and different ways of thinking. But today, they all had one thing to talk about. Earth. The humans. For years, they had avoided the planet, not because it was powerful, but because it was unpredictable. And now, after hearing reports, watching failed missions, and reviewing strange encounters, the time had come to decide what to do with this wild world. A large screen lit up at the front of the room. Symbols changed across its surface as translations were made between languages. First to speak was Vekal, the Vokari trader who had once sent his scout to Earth, and never saw him again. "Earth is not safe," he said. "Not for us." He looked around the room. "They do not follow rules. They do not react the way we expect. They are like storms, loud, fast, and impossible to control." A Zilari diplomat raised her hand. "Perhaps that is why we should not fear them," she said. "Perhaps that is why we should learn from them." Bakal shook his head. "No, they are not ready, and we are not ready for them." Another voice spoke from the back. It was Cathar, the missing scout. He had returned. After being lost for months, he had found his way home through hidden routes and forgotten paths. Now, he stood before the council. "I lived among them," he said. "I watched them. I listened." He took a deep breath. "They are strange. Yes, but they are not enemies." Some aliens whispered. Others frowned. "What did you see?" asked the Zilari diplomat. Cathar stepped forward. "I saw a man help me without knowing who I was. I saw children laugh when they found my ship. I saw people argue, fight, love, and cry all in the same day." He looked at each leader in turn. "Humans are not dangerous because they attack," he said. "They are dangerous because they surprise you." Silence filled the room. Then another alien spoke. This one was from the Thalkor Union, a species known for strict order and careful planning. "Chaos cannot be allowed to spread," the Thalkor leader said. "If we do not act, they may reach beyond their world. They may bring their madness into space." Vakal nodded. "We must contain them. No contact, no trade, no diplomacy." He turned to the council. "I move to enact containment protocols," he said. "Earth must be sealed off. No ships enter or leave their system." Many leaders agreed. Others hesitated. The council prepared to vote. On one side, containment. Earth would be locked away. No communication, no travel, no chance for humans to go into space. On the other side, observation. Let them grow. Watch them, learn from them, wait until they were ready. The first vote was taken. Containment. Warning observation. 12 Vakal smiled. The motion passes. But then, the Zilari diplomat stood. "There is more to say," she said. She walked to the center of the room. Before we make our final choice, she said, I want you all to see something. She tapped a small device. A screen appeared behind her. Images played. People helping others during war. Scientists working together to save lives. Artists creating beauty in places where there was none. Children sharing food even when they had little. Voice spoke over the images. Humans are not perfect, the Zilari said. They make mistakes. They fight. They destroy. She paused. But they also heal. They build. They create. She looked at the council. They may be dangerous, she said, but maybe that is exactly why they should remain free. Some aliens looked unsure. Others whispered. Vikal stood again. You are risking everything, he said. For hope? Yes, she said. Because sometimes, hope is stronger than fear. Another vote was called. This time, the results were closer. Containment. 13 observation. 13A Tai. Vikal looked angry. This changes nothing, he said. We must act now. The Zilari diplomat smiled. No, she said. It means we wait. The meeting ended with no clear decision, but the message was clear. Earth would not be contained. Not yet. The Watchers returned back on Earth, Jason. Bennett sat in a quiet room. He had just finished reading a new report. Leisha walked in. Did you hear? She asked. Jason looked up. Hear what? Something happened in space, she said. A big meeting. Aliens talked about us. He blinked. Really? Yes, she said. They almost decided to lock us out, to stop us from ever going into space. Jason felt cold. What stopped them? Someone argued, Lisa said. Someone believed we were worth keeping free. Jason thought for a moment. So what does that mean for us? Licia sat beside him. It means we still have time, she said. To understand ourselves, to prepare. Jason looked at the window. Outside, the sky was blue. Birds flew by. Normal life went on. Nobody knew how close they had come to being cut off from the stars. Do you think they'll try again? He asked. Maybe, Lisa said. But next time we might be ready. Jason nodded. Ready for what? Ready to meet them, she said. On our own terms. You and the wild card remains. Weeks passed. Life went on. Jason returned to teaching history. His students asked questions. They wanted to know about the past, about wars, about space, about aliens. He smiled every time. He never told them the full truth, but he gave them hints. He taught them to ask questions, to think for themselves, to explore. And somewhere, far away, an alien ship floated silently in space. Its crew watched Earth. They read reports. They saw the videos. They studied the files. One of them, a young observer, looked at the planet below. Should we go down? He asked. His captain thought for a moment. Not yet, he said. They're still learning. Learning what? Learning who they are. The young alien looked at the screen again. They're dangerous, he said. The captain smiled. Yes, he said. But maybe that's why we should keep watching. Because Earth may be dangerous. But deep down, some part of them knows. We might just be the only species crazy enough to save them all. Back on Earth, life went on like normal. People woke up. They drank coffee. They went to work. They dropped their kids off at school. They argued about politics. They watched funny videos online. Nobody knew how close they had come to being locked away, cut off from space, cut off from the stars. But Jason Bennett knew. He sat in his classroom, looking at a group of students who didn't know what he knew. They asked questions like, always. Mr. Bennett, one student said. Do you think aliens are real? Jason smiled. Maybe, he said. But if they are, we might be the ones scaring them off. The class laughed. He looked out the window. Far away, above the clouds, something was watching. The return home weeks passed since the council meeting in space. On a quiet ship floating near the edge of the galaxy, Cathar sat alone. He had returned from Earth with new thoughts in his head, new ideas. He looked at the stars outside the window. His captain had told him not to speak much about what he saw. Humans are strange, Vakal had said, and dangerous. Cathar nodded then, but now he wasn't so sure. He had seen more than danger. He had seen kindness, laughter, courage, fear, hope. He had seen people who did not follow rules but who still found ways to survive, to grow, to live. He tapped a small screen beside him. It showed reports from other alien groups. Some were still afraid. Others wanted to watch. A few even wanted to try again. Cathar leaned back in his chair. Maybe, he whispered. We should try again. Did you? The message back at the underground base in Denver. Lisa Garcia sat across from Tom. They were reading a new report. Something came through last night, Tom said. Lucia raised an eyebrow. From where? Deep space, he replied. Encrypted signal. He clicked a button, a voice played from the speakers. It was calm, alien, but clear. This is Auxiliary Observer Unit 3. We have reviewed all data. We believe humans are not ready for full contact, but we also believe they should not be contained. They are dangerous, yes, but not in the way we thought. They do not attack. They do not conquer. They ask questions. They change, they surprise us, and that makes them invaluable. The message ended. Silence filled the room. Then Lisa spoke. So they're not locking us out? Tom shook his head. Not yet. She smiled. Good. The plan later that day, she met with Jason again. They walked through the halls of the base. You've been quiet lately, she said. Jason shrugged. Just thinking. About what? About what you told me, he said. That someone out there believes we should stay free. Licia nodded. Yes, and maybe more than one. Jason stopped walking. What if we could help? He asked. Help? Who? She asked. Both sides, he said. The ones who want to keep us locked up. The ones who want to let us go. Licia studied his face. You want to make contact? She said. Not now, he said, but someday. She smiled. I think that's why we're dangerous. He looked confused. Because we don't wait for permission, she said. We just go. Jason nodded slowly. So what do we do? Licia looked around. We keep learning, she said. We keep watching. And when the time comes, she paused, we meet them first. At the book months later, Jason stood on his porch. He held a book in his hands. It was thin. Its cover read, The Sky Watchers. By J. Bennett. He opened it to the first page. Once, long ago, people looked up at the stars and dreamed. Some believed they were alone. Others thought they were being watched. Maybe both were true. Maybe neither. But what if the truth was stranger than anyone imagined? What if, out there, someone was watching us? And what if we were the ones scaring them? He closed the book. Behind him, a car pulled up. Licia stepped out. You published it, she said. Yes, he said. As fiction. She smiled. Smart move. He handed her a copy. You can read it too. She took it. What happens next? He asked. Next, she said. We wait. He looked at the sky. For what? For them, she said. Or maybe for us. Lurkur. The watchers in space, far beyond Earth's reach, a small ship floated silently. Inside, a Auxiliary observer watched a screen. On it, images played. A man teaching in a classroom. A book being sold online. A video going viral. A child pointing at the sky. The observer turned to another alien. Should we respond? The other asked. The Auxiliary diplomat thought for a moment. No, she said. Not yet. Why not? Because they're still learning, she said. About themselves. About us. She looked at the screen again. When they're ready, she said, they'll find us. The other alien frowned. You think they'll surprise us again? The Zalari smiled. Of course, she said. They always do. The end, or the beginning. Back on Earth, Jason returned to teaching. His students kept asking questions. One day, a girl raised her hand. Mr. Bennett, she said, do you really believe we're not alone? He looked at her. I don't know, he said, but if we are, I hope they bring snacks. The class laughed. Outside, the sun set. The sky turned dark. Stars appeared. Somewhere out there, someone was watching, waiting, listening, and maybe smiling, because Earth may be dangerous. But deep down, some part of them knows we might just be the only species crazy enough to save them all.